Greetings all, this is the One Nerd, and I want to welcome you to a brand new segment that I'm introducing onto my YouTube channel called The One Nerd Hates Wrestling. Now, I'm sure you can tell if you've watched a few of my videos, from the shirts that I wear to some of the displays in the back there, that I am actually a fairly big wrestling fan. So if that's the case, why would I have a show on my channel that talks about how much I hate it? Well, to be honest, a lot of wrestling ain't that great. While I am a fairly new fan of pro wrestling, having started watching around 2012, I watch a lot of wrestling across a lot of different platforms. From WWE, New Japan, Ring of Honor, Impact, Stardom, and a ton of other indie feds and local wrestling when I can make time for it. And I am an avid listener of wrestling podcasts like OSW Review and the Attitude Era podcast. I would never consider myself an expert in pro wrestling, but I know what I like, and I know what makes sense. Which is why I'm really excited to see a new brand rising in the wrestling business, in the form of All Elite Wrestling, or AEW. A wrestling federation that started as a bunch of indie wrestlers making YouTube videos has turned into a phenomenon that has landed them a TV deal for a weekly show on TNT called Dynamite. And today, we're going to be looking at the first episode of Dynamite to see if it lives up to the hype that's been built around it, and to see if it has legs to stand on the upcoming Wednesday Night Wars. The inaugural episode of AEW Dynamite comes to us from Washington, D.C., in an arena where tickets sold out 30 minutes after they went on sale, just showing how hyped people are to watch something other than WWE. Of course, one would wonder how many of these people actually go to local indie wrestling shows in their area, but I have no way of knowing that, so I'm not going to judge. Our commentary team for Dynamite is good old JR, masked commentator Excalibur, and returning voice Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone, of course, is a staple in the wrestling industry, going back all the way to WCW Nitro. The show, so far, actually has a lot of connections to Nitro, which, if anyone knows their history in this business, you would think a company like this would want to avoid. But of course, only time will tell how that plays out. Speaking of inaugural, our inaugural contest for the first ever AEW weekly TV show is Cody Rhodes versus Sammy Guevara.
Guys, it kind of feels like, it smells like, I don't know, it seems like this is a revolution.
It's just really exciting. This is the pressure I always wanted that I didn't know I wanted.
Your match against Sammy Guevara. Sammy's a young, dynamic athlete, great wrestler. And he has a chance now in the very first match to face you. So I can imagine that Sammy Guevara is going to be more focused, more ready than any match he's ever had in his life.
There's not much to this match, at least not in the way of build-up. Of course, Cody was going to be on the first match of the weekly TV show, and I'm happy to see Sammy get this opportunity. Of course, while this is a huge opportunity to showcase a lesser-known guy like Sammy Guevara, this is all about Cody, who has an upcoming title match with Jericho at the next pay-per-view, Full Gear. The crowd is firmly behind Cody, which makes sense. Cody has been a fan favorite for a long time, but since leaving WWE and building the base for AEW, he has been seen as a hero figure against WWE. The biggest issue with this is that there is a lot of confusion in Cody's character. While he is a big old babyface and the crowd loves him, he is surrounded by heels in the form of his wife Brandi and his partner/best friend MJF, who we will see later on. It really seems like they're going for a mentality that was used a lot back in the Attitude Era, where there are no clear-cut good guys or bad guys and all that. Which, I mean, is fine, but Cody has never really given a reason why he tolerates the people around him behaving badly, especially since, again, he is a bigwig in the company, and he never does anything particularly heelish. Again, if anything, he is a major babyface in this company. Not to mention that during the match, Cody acts like an arrogant heel rather than a babyface, which muddies the waters further. The match is fine for a start. Both men pull heel moves, with Sammy pulling Brandy in front of him to take the hit. Then later, Brandy clocks Sammy with her heel behind the ref's back. Both men kick out of some pretty big moves, including the disaster kick, top rope drops, and a middle rope cutter, all leading to Sammy going for a top rope dive, which is countered by Cody into a small package pin. Cody, who is, again, just about to get a huge title opportunity against Chris Jericho at Full Gear at the next pay-per-view, just showed his dominance by small packaging a guy for the win. The commentators will say that he had to throw everything that he had in order to get this win, but if that's the case, how can we possibly expect Cody to win? I mean, unless we're saying that Sammy Guevara is on the same level or maybe just a little bit lower than Chris Jericho. But, to give them the benefit of a doubt, this is the very first match on the very first show, and the pay-per-view is not for another month, so they do have time. After the match, Sammy offers a respectful handshake to Cody, when suddenly, Cody is attacked from out of nowhere by Jericho.
Chris Jericho assaulting Cody and beating him like a government mule.
Jericho shows his dominance by dominating Cody and putting him through a few chairs.
Got Cody hooked up. And the powerbomb of the chairs.
Jericho is an amazing heel who's got real star power and presents himself as a tangible, real threat in AEW. He's honestly kind of like Brock Lesnar sort of in WWE, only Jericho is actually here. Jericho reminds the crowd who he is and leaves without the AEW title. Have you learned nothing from having your title stolen in that limo? Nothing at all? Our next match is Brandon Cutler, a longtime friend of the Young Bucks, an avid D&D player, wrestling against...
Ladies and gentlemen, just in case you live under a rock or you're poor and by the looks of it, check. You are looking at the youngest and fastest rising star in the history of professional wrestling, Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
Remember when I said that Cody surrounds himself with heels despite being a fan-favorite babyface? MJF is the best heel in this company. In fact, I mean, he is the best heel in wrestling today, bar none, full stop, no question. MJF lives his gimmick everywhere he goes, on TV, at signings, and of course on Twitter. The build-up to this match came when he posted a pic of himself saying, "I don't play Dungeons & Dragons." A tweet that actually got a lot of mainstream attention. MJF may be the hardest working worker in AEW right now, in and out of the ring. After a few more choice insults, MJF and Cutler wrestle a very solid match and shows off MJF perfectly as a heel, and gives people a reason to cheer Cutler. The match ends with MJF locking in his submission, the Salt of the Earth. I should mention real quick that unlike podcasts and shows like OSW Review and AE Podcast, I'm not going to go move for move in a lot of these matches unless it's absolutely necessary to highlight something. All the wrestling, I still want people to watch it. You know, I don't want them to come to the show just to see the wrestling or anything like that. I'm not going to highlight it step for step. I want people to see these shows. What I'm doing is just kind of pointing out the bad things in between the wrestling. But again, unless there's something specifically in the wrestling that needs to be addressed because it doesn't make sense or it's bad or what have you, that's the only time I'll really go through it. Moving on, we cut to ringside where we are about to get some major cringe.
Ladies and gentlemen, the stars are out here tonight in DC for the first ever AEW Dynamite on TNT. Please welcome Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes.
Smith and Mewes are here to promote their new movie, the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, which just so happens to have Jericho in it. They do seem to be having fun at the very least, but things get more awkward.
Jay, by the way, for the record, Morris Day and the time sucked.
You guys aren't even good enough to win a match.
Yeah!
Let's just see what's happening over at NXT at the same time.
Shirai idolizes Rey Mysterio, hits the 619 that's known in Japan as the Tiger Feint Kick.
I clearly made the wrong choice. Suddenly, Private Party come in for some reason before immediately being asked to leave. Why? What was the point of all of this? I mean, Are you setting up a feud between Private Party and Angelico and Jack Evans? Just imagine if the reason that Private Party lose to the Young Bucks is because of interference between Angelico and Jack Evans. Oh my god, imagine if this all leads up to a match that includes Jay and Silent Bob in some way. You know what? I don't want to think about that anymore. Let's just move on. Next up, SCU make a presidential statement.
My fellow Americans, thank you for being here today for this special announcement. We here at SoCal Uncensored have done extensive research in the DC area, and through that research we have found that this is the worst town I've ever been in.
I actually have to applaud SCU here for taking the high road and not going for the easy Trump joke. I mean, it must have taken a lot of resistance. We cut from that to SCU again as they reveal the two of them who will be participating in the tag team tournament.
I think Scorp has to set this one out and roll with the experience of the former 4-time tag team champions, Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian.
To which the Lucha Brothers come out to pound their chest and a brawl ensues. Just a reminder, SCU and the Lucha Brothers are not wrestling each other in the first round of this tag tournament. In fact, they're not even in the same brackets. The only way for these two to actually wrestle each other in this tournament is if both of them go to the finals. So all this is just kind of spoiling the end of this tournament, the finals, or it's just making their respective opponent teams look like geeks, or really both. Next on the card, we have Hangman Page versus Pac. This is a match we have been waiting for since AEW was first established, as the two stared each other down at the announcement press conference. But due to circumstances and injury, we have not gotten that match until now. Both men put on an amazing match, but the combination of Pac's skills and a bit of dirty play give Pac the win.
Black Arrow into the brutalizer. Run into the submission. This is what Pat McKinney Omega with, the brutalizer.
AEW has to have huge plans for Pac right now. He already has a win over a former IWGP champion in the form of Kenny Omega and a former AEW title contender in the form of Hangman Page. In fact, Pac has actually proven himself to be more worthy of a title match against Chris Jericho than Cody has. I mean, really, all Cody's done is just that he owns the place. Up next, we have our match to crown the first ever AEW Women's Champion. I should mention that Britt Baker comes out to do commentary, but she contributes nothing to the match except to say in a monotone that she should be in this match. Riho is a veteran of pro wrestling, having wrestled since she was 9 years old. Nyla, on the other hand...
One fall, no time limit. Oh, look at this! Oh, Rio.
She's very green. The story of this match is that Nyla is very large and Riho is very small. And despite Nyla being much larger than Riho, she still feels the need to employ dirty tricks to win, like using steel chairs, which turns out to be her downfall in a way. Just remember that in this match, the ref expressly tries to stop Nyla from using a chair against Riho, and it's said, on the commentary side, that doing this will get her disqualified. That will be important for later. I have mixed feelings about this. Did I want Riho to win? You bet your ass I did. But with a beast like Nyla, you really need more of a build-up for this. With Riho beating Nyla clean, Nyla is essentially dead as a monster heel, already. Which really is a good thing considering what happens next. After Riho gets the pin, she celebrates in the ring. Michael Nakazawa gets in the ring to congratulate Riho and interview her for the Japanese audiences. But Nyla interrupts.
And now, Nyla!
Oh, Jesus Christ. That legit scared me the first time that I saw it live. Sure, she does pull it off a second later, but that is way, 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 way too much of a risk. And it's clear Nakazawa did everything he could to help her, but she still almost killed him. It really seems as though they want to continue this feud for some reason and keep this going for later on or something, but I would really suggest that they send her down to whatever version of NXT AEW has, She needs a lot of work. It's finally time for our main event. We have the Elite consisting of Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks versus Chris Jericho and LAX. I know they're not actually called LAX in AEW, but it's easier that way. The match goes as expected of a trios match, with some great wrestling, until...
Capital One Center.
Wait a minute! John Moxley! It's John Moxley! Oh my God! Omega senses something's wrong! Oh, there's something wrong, all right. Oh, there's something right. John Moxley here to assault Kenny Omega.
Now, a lot of people have been confused about this, thinking it should have been a DQ for Moxley attacking Omega. Supporters would say that Omega was not the legal man at the time, but I have two responses. One, Omega was in the ring for an awfully long time, setting up for his dive spot, with the ref not bothering to count at all. As well, Omega is still taken out of the match, making it a handicap match. This raises a couple of issues, not the least of which kind of showing that the match going on is kind of pointless considering that it's still going on while Moxley and Omega are brawling. You can make the case that it's the ref's discretion to call off a match, but at a certain point you're going to need to have rules if you're going to make this seem legit and make it seem real. I mean, you tout all over the place that wins and losses matter, but if things like DQs or rules or run-ins or stuff like this doesn't matter, then none of it matters. With Omega out of the picture, the Young Bucks are defeated, but Jericho and LAX are not done with them, and start a post-match beatdown. Cody runs in for the save and easily handles both Jericho and LAX, since, you know, he's Cody. Sammy runs in and kicks Cody squaw in the nuts.
Respect my authority!
But then Dustin, who for some reason, despite not being scheduled for a match, is dressed in his ring outfit and face paint, comes in and saves his brother, who was previously saving the Young Bucks. Alright, this is getting ridiculous. Does anyone else want to run in to make a save?
Wait a minute! For the love of God, is that... It's Jake Hager! Jake Hager!
Well, okay, that'll work. That's right. Jack Hager, who was formerly known as Jack Swagger in the WWE, makes his debut in AEW in an explosive way. But it actually turns out that all of these men are actually working together. Jericho, LAX, Sammy Guevara, and Jack Hager are actually all part of a new faction in AEW that has yet to be named. This is not speculation or anything. It was confirmed on AEW's social media later on that they are indeed an actual faction. And so, our first episode of Dynamite ends with all of these faces dead and the formation of a new heel faction. I understand this is the first episode. I do. I really do. But this first episode seems really muddled and kind of just seems like a list of cool stuff that the main guys, just kind of wanted to throw in there. Not to say that every episode of everything is perfect. I mean, if you look at the first episode of Raw, it's kind of messy. If you look at the first episode of Nitro, it's a little messy. So there's precedent for this. Now back then, when Raw was first starting up, that was like the first time it had ever been done. So you can forgive them for being a little messy. This, we have a precedent. We have all of this stuff. I mean, we've had wrestling on TNT before. I mean, they should know what to work off of. Now, of course, we still have the tag team tournament to look forward to, and I'm really curious about their future plans for people like Pac and Hager. But nothing in this episode really blew me away. This is supposed to be the first shots in a new wrestling war, and there was nothing here that really roped me in, really. I mean, it really seems like, at least at this point, the real proving ground, the real hook that's going to keep people interested is if they can get past the first pay-per-view, if they can get past that first Full Gear pay-per-view, which again, just like the previous All Out pay-per-view, is a full-priced pay-per-view. That's going to be the real thing. Because a lot of wrestling fans, and especially, mainstream ones, have been spoiled with the fact that they can just get all of the pay-per-views for $10 a month. And asking them to really invest in this new company with $50 a month, or not $50 a month, because they're not going to do monthly pay-per-views, but $50 pay-per-views, you're really going to need to give them something big. Now, I will say that the crowd really seemed to be into everything, and that's good. That's really good. But I feel as though a lot of the reason that happened is because it's the new shiny thing, and because of recent things that WWE has done that's really, really sabotaged themselves. Now, of course, I'm still going to be watching AEW. I'm going to be watching it all the way through and just seeing what exactly this is going to be. I'm not going to have coverage of every single episode of AEW on here because that would be a lot of work. And I already have a lot of projects that I'm working on, and covering a weekly show in this kind of format would just be a little bit too much. However, I will be covering all the pay-per-views that come out, just kind of like what I'm planning to do with WWE pay-per-views, and doing videos like this for all the WWE and AEW pay-per-views, and kind of giving recaps of what kind of led up to that. So I hope that if you like this video, you will like it, you will comment, and you will subscribe for all the new wrestling content that I'm going to be doing to this channel, and of course my other content, like my movie reviews, light novel audiobooks, maybe a few vlogs here or there, who knows, all sorts of things I'm planning for this channel. And honestly, I do want to thank you for watching up to this point. This is something that I've wanted to do for a long time, to do this kind of content, because I've been inspired by so many people. And again, I want to get my face out there so I can show that I do have value, entertainment-wise, and of course writing-wise. And I should mention, if you are interested in checking out any of my writing, checking my writing projects, spec scripts, what have you, that I have, pilots for different shows, you can check out my website at theonenerd.com. Again, that's theonenerd.com. And attach to that, if you have any inquiries for a writer, something along those lines, talent-wise, or something like that, you never know. You can contact me at contact@theonenerd.com. And of course, if you just want to, shoot me a line, you can also do that there as well at contact@theonenerd.com. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at @the_1_nerd. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you don't, again, you can comment below and tell me what I can improve about it, what you disagreed about, certain things that I said. But I do want to thank you for at least watching this video and up until this point. My name's The One Nerd. That was just my opinion, and I hope you have a good day.